Thanks for staying with us. So this festive season was happening, and Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State placed an immediate and indefinite ban on all nightclub activities, including nighttime trading, street prostitution in Port Harcourt. According to him, no responsible government should continue to tolerate the open display and solicitation of sexual services, drug abuse, and public intoxication that takes place along the streets of and public areas. Now, morally looking, hang in there, morally looking sounds right. But if you think about the freedom of expression, freedom to be yourself, freedom to have a trade, freedom to own a business and run a business, and you think, is he impeding that freedom? That's our conversation today. Please call us on 091-390-769480, 081-270-53687. You can also send us messages on YouTube, and Facebook will be happy to read your messages. Now, it's one thing to have an open declaration as the governor. It's another thing to take an issue to the House of Assembly and say, please do a law to ban these things. Because the truth is that people are running businesses. Yes, there's a part of the prostitution, but nightclubs is a business. So what are your thoughts? Do you think it's right for him to make that kind of declaration, or do you think that he could have found another way to go about this?
So from the moral angle. Yes, from the moral angle, I would clap for. I would applaud it. Let me explain. I spent Christmas in Benin with my children, and from my mother-in-law's place, we had to drive to the hotel. And my children saw things that I did not want. Like, I was praying they would sleep. And I'm like, close your eyes, because literally on the road, everything is outside. You know, like, it's Benin, no, we're talking Port Harcourt. But the same happens over there, because when I went to gym, I have my other brother also lives in Port Harcourt, and the conversation was, this is now is worse. Like, they are red light district that, you know, this street is not a street that you would go on normal days. It's not a transit road. It's a road you go to patronize them. So people that go there are going for business. But now, it's no longer a location that they do these things. It's now everywhere. If you drive at night, just randomly trying to get somewhere, you see, not even night, 7 p.m., they are everywhere displaying themselves. And it goes beyond declaration. Of course, the governor has a right to do what they call sign a executive order. But there also must be a way to provide other things these people can do. There are many young, beautiful young ladies who have seen prostitution as their only way of earning money. If they are given other options, they probably would take it. So the governor just not signing this into law. Give options to these young ladies, especially when it comes to prostitution and drugs, and they go hand in hand. Those must be dealt with. Okay, let me come to you, Miriam. Your thoughts on this? Well, because prostitution is a two-way street, too. Yes. I'm providing a service. Somebody's buying for that, paying for that service.
So you've talked about why it's important morally, and I agree with you, completely. But, you know, there's something about just making declarations like this and just dealing with issues at the surface level. There's a reason why this is thriving. Obviously, we have a drug problem in our country right now. We're constantly talking about the Southeast and the youth just, you know, taking all sorts of things. And our girls, he mentions that most of these girls who stand on the streets to offer sexual services, some of them younger than 14. And I'm saying we're talking pedophilia here. Yeah. So, I mean, we should be arresting some people. Who are those people stopping there to be with these little girls? We need to make sure that there's no market. I mean, if there's nobody paying for these services, then we'll deal with that. So it is one thing to say you close the nightclubs. And why I don't totally agree with closing nightclubs, because the nightclubs do not necessarily mean that only prostitution, only drug use happens there. But you can have a way to, what's the word now, to, you know, manage it, enforce that some things are put in place to make sure that drug use, in public intoxication, prostitution does not happen there. There are some places they're so aware of how government can clamp down on them, they do not allow some activities to happen in their nightclubs. Nightclub is a business. It's a legitimate business. People go there to hang out for entertainment, to have some drinks. But when it now becomes where children are being used or, you know, in a way to entice customers to come into those places, then that particular nightclub needs to be closed down. Yeah. If there's a story that a particular nightclub offers drugs for people, then that particular nightclub needs to be closed down. But concerning child prostitution, that's a huge, a big crime that needs to be quickly and efficiently, addressed. Yes.
Now, we understand the role of a draconian approach, which sometimes is required in this kind of situation. But as a lawyer, do you think he could have gone about this a different way? Because the truth is that, yes, you need the iron hand. But when a man's business, his business is for adults, right? And when you have a room full of adults, they do different things, right? So you can't say I would close down my business because, oh, I'm doing adult activities in my, within my rights to do so. So is it right for him to just close it down, or he should find a legal way to close it down?
Governor Wike being moral is applaudable, but there are legal ways to do this that that are more foundational and stronger, sustainable. So what he should have done is propose a bill to the House to completely make these highlighted offenses, which includes refining the modular refineries that that are causing the black soot in Port Harcourt, because the entire thing he reeled out for the new year was there are lots of laudable things there. It should have been law. Put a law on ground, make them criminal, and then, so you can penalize or punish people for doing them. That's what he should have done. But maybe he's looking at it taking a longer time to effect. And so in the interim, in the immediate, he does an executive order, which is also good. The problem for me is that there's a way that I'm trying to quote I'm trying to quote a professor that spoke at the DSV, and her name is just not coming this morning. When law is made and it's countered the ways of the people's culture and ways continue to fight at the law.
Culture would always win.
Miriam, you're talking about pedophilia. Sadly, we hate to admit it in the Southwest that these things are common when it comes to open sex. It is when it comes to marriage that you hear the people shout. And even in the East, when some people are shouting, some people say it's okay, there's no problem. It's up north that is a problem. The ways of the people promote, free and prostitution and all of it, the men. So you wonder when this bill comes to the House in Rivers State. I want to see what the House of Assembly, how divided or how united they will be on this if it was a law.
Because this has been debated at the National Assembly level, and we saw the fireworks that happened. They couldn't agree.
This has been a way of life in Port Harcourt amongst the Rivers people for years. And I'm saying it on the show. Young girls, in fact, when we had a young girl, her name was Mary then, and she was like, we were shouting, you get belly, you get belly. She's waiting. And you know what I mean? I don't come out. It was a normal thing. She grew up there, and she was looking at us, we in Lagos, making noise over her head when she came to stay with my best friend's family. Like, what is wrong with you people? These are things that the people themselves need to hate. The House of Assembly needs to stand up and represent their people and make sure that the people now start to hate it, so that Tokpa will not go to Benin and it will be normal. These things are normal in the Southwest, and we just hate to pretend. We like to pretend about it. Southwest and Southeast. I'm talking Benin and trying to link into Port Harcourt at once. These things are too normal there, and I'd like to see the House of Assembly take a stand, representing their constituencies and saying, no, we don't want this again.
If we think of how
when our young girls will be easily taken, and will be normal from there to bring them to Lagos in a brothel on Old Ojo Road, and they'll be and not be Yoruba.
But we think about how
it's a red district. I grew up knowing Old Ojo Road, that you don't go there because they can lure you. They will tell you that what you make for there.
There are red light districts all over the world. But the truth is that other countries have somewhat been able to curtail this. How? Economic development, empowerment of people. So this is a fallout of economic deprivation across our country. So, and there are other ways, aside from going to go and make this a law, but shouldn't we begin to see, okay, these people, they don't have job. These people, even those who are selling drugs, it's because some cartel or one godfather is saying, listen, sell this for me, you get $1,000. So there's a huge economic deprivation that is going through the land that people need to be empowered.
So yeah, I agree that there is need for economic improvements, and that when people have options of clean ways to make money, they probably will not resort to crime if they are just going to make money illegally, and then crime is criminalized accordingly, appropriately, you know. But we also need to have the orientation that will change our culture. We have some cultures that are just, that we must expunge. So there needs to be that systematic process that people will now say, this is our way of life. We need to change that culture. And thirdly, the issue of suits is a major one. I cannot sit down here and then we'll just wipe over, gloss over it, because my brother-in-law's wife said he's been coughing for years. They've used everything. And in that Christmas weekend that we were in Benin, she did not cough once, because they always have soot. They breathe in soot. And there are many issions that are compounded with it. So it is something we must continue to discuss.
We'll continue this conversation after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So we're going to go back to our conversation with on the Governor Wike's declaration saying that he was banning all the red light districts, the nightclubs. Now, the issue of drug abuse is something we've discussed frequently on this table. And we are asking governors across board to take really strong decisions like this, because, this is something that is almost as though it's getting out of hand. Now, understanding the need to curb the widespread of substance abuse and drug abuse, how else could the governor have done this? I mean, especially the nightclubs are places where these things are usually enough used by artists. So as much as it's a running business, how do we therefore regulate what they're doing within the confines of the club, nightclubs?
Me. NDLA operatives in plain clothes in these areas to keep an eye, knowing that people are watching you, you could be arrested. Simple. Finish.
But it has to be, first of all, okay, drug is even against the law. For that of the Child Rights Act is against the law, and I think Rivers already domesticated long ago.
Yes.
So Wike already has just little to do. But for the prostitution of an adult, you need to then engage these business owners and make that business in itself illegal for you to even enforce them. In the meantime, these are not things that we promote, and if your business is engaged in these kind of things that our states find or we're averse to in this state, we are going to curtail your businesses, we are going to lock up and all of that, and see how that engagement would work. In Lagos, it's where it is a crime. Some places are not, there's no enforcement. I am tired of how Old Road is not a red light district. It is not.
But it's been forever.
It is highly residential. That's the core of Amod itself. But
I thought it was in Benin.
No, growing up in Jos, which always years of Allen.
I live there.
Yes,
so is it still that way, or has government?
Allen used to be a red light district.
Allen is still.
Third gate is supposed to be one, but it's not. It is not enforced, and you see people promoting it. So our people need to hate this thing. We need to see the damage and the danger that this thing poses to our people, and then put in the law. That way it will be easy for the law itself to be enforced by anybody. So now if you tell, they'll say, when I was hungry, did you ask what I was eating? That you are not asking what I am doing now that I have money. A lot of things like that is...
So I think that it's a carrot and stick approach. There must be orientation to let people understand this is harmful, this is what you're doing wrong. And then there must be punitive measures right by the side that says, this is, if you are found with this, you'll be dealt with like this. We know the source. We know these things spread in specific locations. So what Governor Wike did was to target, where do these things spread out from? The average person that goes clubbing drives. If you make it compulsory, and they don't go to club and drink water, they go to club and drink alcohol. So if we say no driving when you are going to, like things that, if people refuse to use their brain, you will feed them. With children, you need to guide them. You look at all the other issues that might happen if we allow drunk drivers continue this way, or all the things that will happen if we allow drug abuse. See the story we took on the man that smoked, that took Mary the meth and killed his siblings. You know, so because we want to prevent all that things from happening, we might seem harsh. the story we took on Magodo, as a resident, I felt that it was harsh because you're not letting me go out of my house. But there are more issues on ground. And so we might make the sacrifices now. We cannot continue like this. Of course, the prostitution will still be among us. It's one of the oldest trade. We can't take it out completely, but we must make it not attractive. We must not let young people think that that's the only way to make money.
Let me take this call from Asaba. Mimi, are you there? Hello, Mimi, are you there? Please join the conversation. Go ahead, you're live.
Okay, thank you. I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you. I want to comment on this community issue because I feel, apart from this, the guys that are doing drugs and the girls that are doing prostitution, there are still other people that are working on that are like cleaners or people that are fed to customers in the bar. These are legitimate work jobs that people can do. And if you ban nightclubs now, what are these people going to be doing? So I think there should be a measure in place that can create the kind of employment opportunity with people in case of when it comes to closing up the nightclubs so that you can have other alternatives or other jobs that you can do. So that's just my contribution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
When we look at economic empowerment and say, so the alternative is to allow free will of this. This is how gradually drug became acceptable. Some people considered it an economic empowerment to peddle or, to sell or to even import these things. And then little by little, the damage that it poses was watered down. It would just be like, as long as I'm making money, I don't think that's what our caller is saying. No. What was he saying?
No, I don't think that saying that to allow nightclubs is also saying we should allow drug peddling. They are two different things. Nightclubs, we have caterers, we have people selling drinks. You can have a decent nightclub where only legal activities are carried out. But then you can also have people who introduce all these illegalities to make more money and things like that. So the government, this is where the government comes in. The government's role really is to make sure that you carry out your business within, the ambit of the law. Put it that way.
Thank you.
Good. So we need to make sure that we put things in place that Nigerian citizens are doing things the right way. But to say stop nightclubs so that there's no drug peddling, I don't think.
So drug peddling is a crime already. We're having problem enforcing it.
Abi.
We have certain business owners who look away when they should look and say, this is not allowed in my business place.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is a crime. Please don't bring it here. Where you say you're a person...
But you want their money. You want the money.
You want the money. You want to make that money. And so you can't put your foot down and do business legitimately.
Right.
You lock down the business. You're forced to do the right thing.
Yes, because you risk losing your business.
So to say that he will lose money and then allow him when you know he will look away at a crime that already is law and popular everywhere. He's not a serious businessman. You lock down the business. So you can't think of his economic empowerment.
Do you have any messages on
before we wrap up again, let me go back to the suit situation. So Governor Wike has complained several times concerning this suit, saying that law enforcement agencies, that JTF, people in power, are culpable. That it's impossible to smuggle crude oil to where it is being illegally refined without anybody seeing what is going on. So when people who are supposed to help out in enforcing the law are culpable and the governor is calling them out to their face and it's still ongoing and people's lives are being put at risk, you see the result of what is happening in Port Harcourt with the suit, you will see it in the next 10, 15 years because there will be several cases of cancer. You cannot, you can't sit with that level of pollution and then people make it their business. You cannot do a business profiting yourself and impoverishing and killing other human beings. It is unfair as human beings that are running those businesses. So let us tell ourselves the truth. Don't wait for them to shut you down. You by yourself, shut yourself down.
So Port Harcourt people, you people are the ones, you know these people.
Exactly. They are your relatives.
Rather than do this, put a sensitization out there on how damaging what is the life span of a person living in a clean environment, like from Miriam's book, and the person living in a polluted environment? And tell your people to do the right thing.
Let's take a few messages on Facebook. Okay. Unsa, are you there?
Can you hear?
Hello, Unsa, are you there?
Yes. I'm hearing you well.
Okay, go ahead, you're live.
Okay, please, it's so sad that we are having politicians, the house is burning, and they are leaving how to save the house to chase rats inside a burning house. Okay. It's very sick. I am not a supporter of anything called prostitution. But prostitution is not what is not those things that are not giving us life in this country. Prostitution is not what is really causing the insecurity across the country. The politicians should face the real thing. Governor Wike is one of the governors that I admire so much because of his boldness in speaking out in a lot of things. How can he be talking about closing down nightclubs? Some of those clubs, many families are relying on it.
Yeah, bartenders.
Why can't he put up a mechanism that should be able to checkmate the act of prostitution? Many of them, the politicians, are they not patronizing these prostitutes in different ways, though not the ones in the nightclub? We should not be exposing our hypocrisy.
So we're majoring in minor, because the truth is that these politicians are also part of the customers of the high-profile prostitutes. I hear you, but it doesn't negate the real activity.
We have to start from somewhere. So that bartender, that cleaner, staff member who all work there,
all of them should do their job.
All of them should do something about this evil. We spotted an evil. Yeah. Pedophilia and all of that, drug peddling, we've spotted this. Are we going to say because you people now have an economic life around this, let's just leave it and be managing it? And then we'll end up with a society in 10 years that we cannot handle, like where we are now. This is how Yahoo started. Some people thought, okay, they're just taking back. But now, where we are now is such an embarrassment to the nation. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye.
Let me quickly just say this. I want to always say, and I like to, because of consistency's sake, I always feel like our government tends to sort of do, where we cannot help a situation, because we don't know how to help the situation, we transfer the problem to the people, which is similar to what the governor is doing. I can't help the situation, so we shut it down. We cannot help importation of rice coming in through border, so we close down the border. Okay, so we cannot help the case of corruption within our subsidy payments, so we stop subsidy and push the problem to the people. It really isn't right, but I have gone to that place where I'm tired of saying, because you're having a headache, don't cut off the head. Because very soon now, the head is getting rotten. So if the solution might be to cut off the head, let us cut it off and see if the rotten head will stop other bodies from getting bad.
Doesn't that amount to throwing the baby out to the bathwater?
At this point, we might have to throw a lot of babies out to the bathwater.
Wow. Listen, the situation is tough.
No, the truth is, if you do not handle it properly, you will always have this situation. You have to be ready to do the hard work. What we're talking about is that people are unwilling to do the hard work. There's no willpower to pursue it the right way. You cut off the different heads. What will be left?
The easy way out is always the first line of action. Okay, we have to wrap up on this, I'm sorry, because we have to bring in our next guest. But I think in summary, we understand the moral obligation of the governor to reduce the use of drugs, prostitution, pedophilia. We understand that very clearly. At the same time, we think it should be done properly because the businesses are involved and we're in a democracy, right? It would be great to have this military regime where you can make this draconian law and suddenly things turn around. But hey, it's a democracy. You go through the courts, you go through the House of Assembly to change the laws, and then you enforce. And then you also ensure your people are economically empowered, because then you don't make these streets attractive for young people to go to. So there are different ways
the money in the treasury that is meant for their education.
On this. I'm told we have Vera who just called in now. Vera, are you there? Hello, Vera, are you there?
Hello, yes. Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show, Vera.
Yes. I want to speak about the ban on the pill.
Yes.
Yes. And the thing is, I work within the office where this particular ban was made. And I will tell you that the governor did right. But though the issue is this, even if you ban them from the street, there are other, prostitution houses within Port Harcourt. You see these ladies, they have a house, is built, men go there to do, whatever they want to do. So I think the governor should also look into that. Even if you stop them from the street, they have their, houses where their customer comes to. You see minors are there, So I think the governor should work on that also.
Thank you.
And by doing so, you find out that it will make them stop those on the street and those, housing these people. It will also stop, and it will make them to want to do illegal things, to survive. And for those calling, saying that is a myth for one to, families are surviving through them, I think is wrong. While, like for me, I will tell you that I graduated and for over 3 years I didn't have a job. I didn't resort to prostitution. So I don't think that one should say because there is nothing to do. And I was actually looking for anything to do, even as a graduate. So I think that people should stop looking at using their body and all the rest. Right. Although it's not only for the women. Men also do it. Right. The men also do it. They stay on the street. Women, come to meet them. So I think it's a good thing.
Thank you very much, Vera.
The governor is doing.
So she lives in River State, so you can hear from her to say that, listen, what the governor is doing is right. Thank you very much, Vera, for your comments. I see it's always good to hear from people who are directly affected by this community. So she knows that the areas the governor is referring to. And it's important that this kind of drastic measures are taken because it's beyond the fact that she's even saying that...
Don't you think someone like her should be engaged to teach young girls about their own dignity so that this is not a trait somebody proposed to her, to a young girl?
Yeah, in
in
the perfect world, where you see there are lots of Veras who are hustling to make ends meet within their own space. They are trying to get the children's fare, the school fees. So
but I get you. You don't always have to have a big platform. Yeah. She may be doing a lot already in her community, in her neighborhood. Yeah. They know that that is Vera that would never do this sort of thing. Exactly. She's using her life as an example, and sometimes that's enough.
But she doesn't have the big house that the prostitute has. Because that's what she's saying. They have brothels. They have this beautiful, they build this beautiful house. They have the younger prostitutes.
The people at the brothels, they come from communities, neighborhoods, their relatives, their people's children, sisters.
Anyways, we have to wrap up. Thank you, ladies.